spent an entire hour thinking about something, but accomplished absolutely nothing with that entire hour? You replayed the conversation, you reconsidered what you said, you analyzed the person's facial expressions, their tone, their silence, what they may have meant, what they were thinking. That's different between being productive and reflecting. Reflection and rumination are different. Let's talk about that today. Identify what you can learn and identify what you need to do next is reflecting. Rumination is returning to the same emotional address and not getting anywhere. So we're going to take back our focus. It's our most valuable resource. Where our attention goes, energy flows. Okay. So we're not going to surrender our attention anymore to every little thought and feel powerless. And like, why did I spend my entire day ruminating, which means just like rehearsing, replaying? We're going to dive deep into our thinking about thinking today. So our default network mode is not bad. It's our ability to reflect, imagine, and process experiences. The problem occurs when the internal processing becomes an uncontrollable loop. And instead of helping us to understand our mind, we start rehearsing problems. We don't reach a conclusion. We revisit the same questions. Why did that happen? Why did they say that about me? What could I have done differently? What if it happens again? The brain gets busy, but busy does not mean productive. So sometimes the first step towards taking back our focus is simply recognizing that you're in default network mode, okay? And you're in a loop. And don't get angry at yourself. Simply notice, am I replaying that same loop again? Or am I solving a problem? Move from rumination to reflection. And there's a consciousness expansion here, right? We're being aware of awareness. And there's an extraordinary spiritual and psychological state that can be reached. And it's practical as well. Awareness is when we notice what our mind and body are doing, and it just doesn't go on autopilot. My shoulders get tight. My breathing becomes shallow. I'm checking my phone repeatedly. I'm mentally rehearsing an argument. It's not actually even happening. Am I responding to an assumption that's not even a fact? So that's what thinking about thinking looks like. And there's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is a helpful framework. It's not everything, but it's a relationship between thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And we interpret what happened. That interpretation affects our emotions, and our emotions influence what we do next. So imagine your supervisor asks you to revise something, and that event is simply, he asked for a revision. Your automatic thought may be, thinks I'm incompetent. That thought creates anxiety and embarrassment. And then you may withdraw, become defensive, procrastinate, or replay the interaction for the rest of the day. CBT teaches us to pause and look at the interpretation. What do I actually know? What am I assuming? And what's a reasonable explanation for this? Is this thought helping me respond wisely? Rumination actually speaks loud, broad condemnation language. Nothing ever works out for me. It's in extremes, right? No one ever respects me. I'll never do anything right. I'll never be healthy. But you could say something like, perhaps I didn't handle that well. Okay. It's not glossing over the problem, but it's not these black or white statements, all or nothing. When you're somebody or yourself say never, always, be careful. Coping skills are not something that we should take lightly. Okay. Coping skills are essential, and thinking about thinking is part of that. So what are our thoughts? What's our thought life? They say that 90% of the things we think every day are on repeat. So we start to notice what we're replaying, and we can maybe do an audit of that and notice when our body becomes tense, when we breathe shallow breaths. Maybe go for a walk, breathe deeply, schedule time for pause during the day to check in with yourself. And that's part of being reflective. So coping skills help us shift our attention away from the uncontrollable and internal loop back towards the present moment. And from a faith perspective, renewing the mind does not pretend that painful things never happen. It's being able to discern what thoughts are producing wisdom, conviction, and responsible action, and what thoughts are producing fear, accusation, and confusion, paralysis. Not every thought deserves agreement. Not every thought deserves investigation. And not every thought deserves another hour of your life. Here's your challenge. Identify one thought that you've been repeatedly revisiting. Write down the facts. Name the emotion it's producing. Decide what concrete action you could take. Then choose the coping skill that will bring your attention back into the moment. You may not control your every thought, but you can be more intentional about which thoughts receive your focus, your energy, your agreement. You don't have to remain in the courtroom, the same case argued over and over. It can be a place of discernment in your mind, renewal, and purposeful action. Take back your attention. Take back your mental energy. Take back your focus. Your attention is a valuable resource. Spend it wisely. I pray that this blesses you, and leave a comment if you agree, disagree. I'm open for feedback. I don't have this all figured out, but I do believe that the intersection of neuroscience, psychology, and scripture is an important way for us to understand thinking about thinking, reset our mindset, and live better lives. God bless.